On March 12, 1954, at 7:58 p.m., Raymond "Quick" Lewis arrived at Small's Paradise 30 minutes early, as always earning his nickname not for speed, but for his constant preparation, always thinking ahead, always alert, always protecting. For 8 years, he'd been Bumpy Johnson's bodyguard, never failing, never hesitating, never questioning. His job was simple: keep Bumpy alive at any cost, so he checked the restaurant, every entrance, exit, window, and person, waiters, cooks, customers, anyone could be a threat. Then took his position 3 feet behind Bumpy's usual table, close enough to protect, far enough to give space. At 8:14 p.m., Bumpy arrived with Mamie and sat down while Raymond stood behind, silent and sharp. When a new Italian waiter approached, Raymond's instincts kicked in. "Who's that?" he asked the manager, who replied, "Tommy Marciano started last." Weak good references. He's from the Bronx, which made Raymond tense. The Bronx was Genovese territory. "Keep an eye on him," he said, and the manager nodded. Tommy returned, smiling, and asked, "Good evening, Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Johnson. What can I get you?" Bumpy said without looking up, "The usual. Bifec rare, mashed potatoes, green beans." Then Mamie said, "Same," so Tommy walked off and Raymond watched him closely, feeling something off. "What's wrong?" Bumpy asked quietly. "Don't know yet, just a feeling." And Bumpy knew better than to ignore Raymond's feelings. 20 minutes later, Tommy brought the plate: steak, potatoes, beans, set them down. And as Bumpy reached for his fork, Raymond stopped him. "Let me check it first," he said, and when Bumpy protested, Raymond insisted, "It's my job." So he took a bite, tasted normal, but then his throat began to burn, not terribly. Just ... odd. "You okay?" Mamie asked, and Raymond nodded, but then the pain hit, sharp like fire in his gut, spreading fast. And Raymond stumbled, grabbed the table, his face pale. "Quick!" Bumpy jumped up and caught him as Raymond collapsed, convulsing, foaming, his eyes rolling back. "Someone call an ambulance!" Mamie screamed. Bumpy held him, trying to stop the convulsions. "Quick! Stay with me!" Raymond's eyes locked onto Bumpy's, trying to speak, but only blood came from his mouth. Nose, ears poisoned. Bumpy realized too late. Someone poisoned the food, and Raymond had taken the bite meant for him. The ambulance arrived in 4 minutes. Paramedics rushed in. What did he eat? Steak 3 minutes ago. They loaded him up, and when they stopped Bumpy from following, he said, "I'm his family," and climbed into the ambulance, holding Raymond's hand as they raced to Harlem Hospital. Raymond's vitals were crashing, BP dropping, heart rate erratic, breathing shallow. "He's going into shock." A paramedic shouted, starting in 4 and pushing fluids, but it was clear. Raymond was dying. At 8:42 p.m., they arrived at the E, where Dr. Morris Chun met them. "What happened?" "Poisoned food," Bumpy said. "What kind?" "Don't know, but symptoms include seizures, internal bleeding, organ failure." And Dr. Chun's face turned grim. "Sounds like arsenic mixed with cyanide. How long ago?" 25 minutes. "Then we don't have much time." They pumped Raymond's stomach, gave him charcoal and antidotes, but the poison was in his bloodstream, attacking everything: organs, brain. His body was shutting down while Bumpy watched from the window, helpless. Mamie arrived, asking, "Is he alive?" "Barely. This is my fault." "No," Bumpy said. "It was meant for me, which makes it my fault." Uni and Willie rushed in. "Boss, who did this?" Bumpy's voice was cold. "Genovese." "How do you know?" "Because Raymond checked the waiter Tommy Marciano from the Bronx, Genovese territory. This was an assassination attempt." And Uni clenched his fists. "We need to move now." "Not yet." "Why not?" "Because Quick is still alive, and I'm not leaving until I know if he's going to make it. And if he doesn't, Then Genovese dies, slowly. At 9:30 p.m., Dr. Chun came out. He's alive, but barely. The poison damaged his liver, kidneys, heart. We're doing everything we can. But even if he survives, the damage might be permanent. What do you mean? He may never wake up, or if he does, he may not be the same. Can I see him? 5 minutes. Bumpy walked into the room. Raymond lay there, pale, tubes everywhere, machines beeping. Bumpy sat, took his hand. Quick, I don't know if you can hear me, but I need you to fight. You've been with me 8 years, protected me more times than I can count. And tonight you saved me again, but I can't lose you. You're not just my bodyguard, you're my brother. So please, fight. Raymond's hand twitched, just slightly, but Bumpy felt it. That's it. Fight. At 10 p.m., Maria Lewis Raymond's wife, 8 months pregnant, ran in crying. Where is he? Mamie caught her. Maria, calm down the baby. I don't care about the baby. Where's my husband? Treatment room 4, Mamie said, but Maria was already running. She burst through the door, saw Raymond's lifeless body. No, no, no. Bumpy caught her, helped her into a chair. He's still alive. For how long? I don't know. What happened? Someone poisoned my food. Raymond ate it first. He saved me. Maria looked at him, eyes filled with tears. He was doing his job. His job is going to kill him. Maria. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't bring him back. I know, I'll fix this. I'll make them pay, Bumpy said, but Maria screamed back that none of that helped her. None of it helped her son, her baby, as she pressed her hand to her pregnant belly, crying that her child was supposed to meet his father, supposed to grow up with him, but she couldn't finish the sentence and just sobbed. And Bumpy knelt beside her and promised that if Raymond didn't make it, he would take care of her, her son, and little Raymond, that they would never want for anything. But Maria told him she didn't want his money. She wanted her husband, and Bumpy said he knew and that he would do everything he could to give him back to her. At 11:47 p.m., Dr. Chun entered and said Raymond was stabilizing, that his heart rate was up and blood pressure rising, that he was fighting, and though he was unconscious, he might be able to hear them, so Bumpy spoke to him, telling him to keep fighting because Maria and the kids needed him. And Raymond's eyes fluttered open as he whispered that the food had been meant for Bumpy. And when Bumpy said yes, Raymond replied that then he had done his job. That saving Bumpy's life was what he was there for, and when Bumpy called him family, Raymond weakly smiled and told him to treat him like family by getting the man responsible. And Bumpy promised, and Raymond rested, alive. At 2 a.m. on March 13th, Bumpy left the hospital and sent Uni and Willie after the waiter, Tommy Marciano, who was dragged from a Bronx boarding house to a Harlem warehouse, terrified and tied to a chair, where Bumpy calmly confronted him, and after denying it, Tommy confessed that Vito Genovese paid him $10,000 and gave him tasteless, odorless poison meant to kill Bumpy in an hour, but Raymond tasted it first. And when Tommy cried that he needed the money for his family, Bumpy reminded him that Raymond had a pregnant wife and a young son and told Tommy he would testify against Genovese. And only then would Bumpy decide if he lived. At 6 a.m., Bumpy returned to the hospital to learn Raymond's kidneys were failing and his chances were only 20%. And even if he lived, his life would never be the same. And at 8 a.m., Raymond woke and spoke to Bumpy, saying he ate the poison because that's what family does, because if he hadn't, Maria would be a widow and his children would lose their father. But if he took it, maybe Bumpy would survive and take care of them. And as Raymond coughed blood, he made Bumpy promise to protect his family and kill the man responsible. And after saying he could die in peace because he did his job, Raymond faded despite Bumpy's pleas. Maria rushed in screaming and begging him to stay, but Raymond whispered his love to her, nodded once to Bumpy, and died at 4 a.m. on March 13, 1954. Age 32, from poison meant for Bumpy Johnson. And as Maria collapsed on his body and Mamie told Bumpy it wasn't his fault, Bumpy said quietly that it was. And at 5 a.m., Bumpy left Harlem Hospital, gathered his men, told them Raymond died protecting him, named Vito Genovese as responsible, and announced that what followed wouldn't be a small war or a dispute, but a war of annihilation where Genovese and everyone with him would fall. Who helped him dies. Everyone who knew and stayed silent dies. We're going to burn his empire to the ground, and we're doing it in 48 hours, Bumpy said, and the room erupted, men shouting, weapons being checked, plans being laid, but Bumpy raised a hand. And silence fell, then added, one more thing, Raymond's funeral is tomorrow, and we're giving him the biggest send-off Harlem's ever seen. Every one of you will be there. In your best suits, showing respect, because Raymond wasn't just my bodyguard. He was family, and family gets honored. And everyone nodded before filing out to prepare, except Uni, who stayed and asked, how do you want to handle Genovese? And Bumpy replied, I want him alive for now. I want him to see it coming, to feel it, and then I'll kill him myself. And when Uni asked, what about Frank Costello? Bumpy answered, let him try to negotiate. This isn't negotiable. Raymond's dead. Genovese dies. End of discussion. At 10 a.m., Bumpy's men launched the first strike, hitting 6 of Genovese's operations simultaneously. A Bronx gambling house was raided, cash taken, 3 enforcers hospitalized. A loan shark office in Queens was torched, records lost. A Brooklyn drug warehouse was cleaned out, 2 guards killed. A Manhattan speakeasy was shut down, the owner beaten. A Harlem protection racket was ended, collectors chased out. And Genovese's favorite lunch spot was bombed, no casualties, but the message was clear. We're coming. By noon, Genovese had received all the reports and his concierge panicked. Boss, they hit us everywhere. We lost $300,000 this morning. Alone, and when Genovese asked for options, he picked up the phone. Get me Frank Costello. At 2 p.m., Costello met him at the social club, sat across from him, and asked, Vito, what did you do? And when Genovese answered, what I had to, Costello fired back, you tried to kill Bumpy Johnson and you killed his bodyguard. Instead, a man named Raymond Lewis, a father, a husband, you made this personal. And when Genovese said, it was already personal, Costello leaned in and said, no, it was business. Now it's blood. You gave Bumpy a martyr, and martyrs spark wars. He's not coming for your money. He's coming for your life, to which Genovese answered, let him try. But Costello stood up and said, I came to warn you, he won't negotiate, he won't settle. And I won't stop him, not after you broke the rules. You poisoned food, coward shit, and cowards don't get protection. Then walked out, leaving Genovese for the first time in his life afraid. At 4 p.m., Bumpy visited Maria Lewis, Raymond's widow, who was surrounded by family but inconsolable. And though her mother tried to keep him out, Bumpy insisted he had to speak to Maria because he made Raymond a promise. And once inside, he found her clutching their wedding photo while her 5-year-old son asked, Mama, when's Daddy coming? Home? And Maria couldn't answer, only cried. Bumpy knelt and said, Maria, but she cut him off. You killed him. And when he replied, no, Genovese did, she said. Same thing, he died for you, and Bumpy admitted, you're right. It is my fault. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making it right, by taking care of you, your kids, and by making sure the man who did this pays. And when she said, paying's not enough, I want him dead, Bumpy said, he will be by tomorrow night, and handed her an envelope. What's this? She asked. $50,000, he said. Blood money? No, support for you, little Raymond, and the baby Raymond made me promise. And she quietly replied, "Make him suffer." And Bumpy said, "I will." At 6 p.m., Bumpy's men brought Tommy Marciano, the poison food waiter, to Frank Costello, who questioned him, recorded the confession, and called Bumpy. "I've got your waiter," he confessed. Genovese paid him, gave him the poison, told him how to do it, and then Costello said, "I need him to testify to the commission." And when Bumpy asked, "What?" Costello replied, "I'm calling a meeting all 5 families tomorrow morning. You present your case and they decide." "Decide what?" "Whether Genovese lives or dies," but Bumpy said, "I've already decided he dies." And Costello warned, "If you do it without commission approval, you start a war with all of us," and Bumpy replied, "Then they better approve it." At 8 p.m., the commission meeting was set for 10 a.m. the next day, at a neutral location with all 5 bosses: Frank Costello, Vito Genovese, Carlo Gambino, Tommy Lucchese, Bonanno, and Bumpy Johnson. And when Genovese objected, "I'm not sitting at a table with," Frank cut him off. "You'll sit or you'll die, your choice." And Genovese sat. March 14th in 1954 at 9 a.m. Over 2,000 people filled the Abyssinian Baptist Church for Raymond Quick Lewis's funeral, his casket draped in flowers at the front, Maria seated in the first row holding little Raymond's hand, 8 months pregnant, while Reverend Adam Clayton Powell Jr. delivered a eulogy that called Raymond not just a protector of one man, but of an entire community. Someone who stood between danger and safety, between chaos and order, and who gave his life so another could live a sacrifice not just of duty, but of love. While the congregation wept, Bumpy sat in the back, unable to bring himself forward, guilt-heavy. Mamie holding his hand, whispering that it wasn't his fault, but Bumpy didn't respond, just stared at the casket. And after the service, they lowered Raymond into the ground, where Maria threw a flower before collapsing into Bumpy's arms, sobbing she couldn't do this. And he told her she could, because Raymond needed her to, because the kids needed her, because she was their protector now. And she looked at him and said, "Then, you better keep your promise, make him pay," to which Bumpy said, "I will." That same day at 10 a.m. in a Queens warehouse, the commission meeting began with 5 Italian bosses, Bumpy Johnson and Tommy Marciano, in chains, where Frank Costello opened the meeting by declaring that Vito Genovese had violated the rules by ordering a hit using poison, something against their code. And when Genovese stood to justify himself, saying Bumpy had encroached on his territory, he was met with outrage for using poison and killing the wrong man, to which Bumpy stood, told the story of Raymond, his bodyguard and brother with a pregnant wife and son, and how he died eating poison meant for him, then presented Tommy, who confessed that Genovese paid him $10,000 and gave him the arsenic and cyanide, which Frank confirmed with a recording of the confession, turning the room against Genovese, as Gambino called him a disgrace. Bonanno said there had to be consequences, and Lucchese asked Bumpy what justice meant, to which Bumpy replied, "His life for Raymond's." And after some deliberation, the 5 bosses agreed, telling Genovese he had 24 hours to settle his affairs, and then Bumpy would decide how he died. Genovese protested, calling it murder, but they replied, "This is justice." And when he tried to flee, Bumpy's men blocked the door. On March 14th, Bumpy brought Genovese to the same warehouse where Raymond had been poisoned, tied him to a chair, and ignored his pleas for mercy, stating that he couldn't give Bumpy what he truly wanted, his brother back, so he'd settle for his life. And when Genovese begged for his family, Bumpy reminded him that Raymond had one too, and that murdering a father wasn't just business, it was personal. And after explaining that he'd failed twice, once to kill Bumpy and again to escape the consequences, Bumpy pulled out a vial of arsenic and cyanide, the same dose, given to Tommy, and forced Genovese to drink it, watching in silence as he convulsed, bled, and died over 43 minutes, just as Raymond had suffered. The next day, March 15th, Maria went into labor and gave birth to a healthy baby boy. And when the nurse asked his name, Maria said, Raymond Johnson Lewis, in honor of two strong men, one who died protecting his family and one who avenged him. On March 20th, Bumpy visited Maria, met the baby who looked just like Quick, handed her a trust fund for both kids, saying it was part of the promise he made, and when she asked the other part, Bumpy said, making sure they know who their father was a hero, and Maria cried, thanking him for keeping his promise. Years later, in 1975, Raymond Johnson Lewis graduated top of his class at Columbia and gave a speech about a father he never met but always knew. Thanks to Bumpy Johnson, who told stories, shared pictures, and taught him what it meant to be man, calling his father a bodyguard, a protector, a hero, and vowing to live up to that legacy. While Bumpy, now 70, sat in the audience, tears streaming down his face, Mamie beside him saying, "You kept your promise," and Bumpy replied, "I had to for Quick, he saved my life. And I saved his family, that's what brothers do. And if this story of loyalty, sacrifice, and a debt paid in blood moved you, hit that subscribe button. Drop a like if you believe real friendship means protecting each other at all costs. And share this with someone who needs to hear about the bodyguard who took a bullet meant for his boss, and the boss who spent his life honoring that sacrifice, because loyalty isn't just words, it's action, and Raymond Lewis proved that, and Bumpy Johnson never forgot.